Hare Krishna, everyone. A warm welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. I'm very happy to be with all of you again. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we are continuing with our mini-series entitled Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, with a particular item we hope may help to awaken our love for the divine couple Radha and Krishna. And that item is, today, sandalwood. Sandalwood. And this will be part 9. Now, one of the many benefits of eventually awakening our love for Krishna will be that we become detached, almost effortlessly, from this miserable material world. Krishna is all attractive. And Chanakya Pandit has said, you can't give up something unless you get something better. So we can give up this world because we have the best, Krishna. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:46-21, where Nanda Maharaj says to Uddhava, Smaratam Krishna Viryani Leela Panga Nirikshtitam Hasitam Basitam Changa Sarvana Stitala Kriya. It's very beautiful. As we remember the wonderful deeds Krishna performed, his playful sidelong glances, his smiles, and his words, O Uddhava, we forget all our material engagements. But as we know, even more important than forgetting all of one's material engagements or one's material attachments is becoming fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So therefore in the next verse, 22, Nanda Maharaj says, quote, when we see the places where Mukunda enjoyed his sporting pastimes, the rivers, hills, and forests he decorated with his lotus feet, our minds become totally absorbed in him. Now we also know that the result of being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, is that eventually our pure love for him will awaken. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami concludes in verse 27, quote, thus intensely remembering Krishna again and again, Nanda Maharaj, his mind completely attached to the Lord, felt extreme anxiety and felt silent, overcome by the strength of his love. Overcome by the strength of his love. So let us discuss today how sandalwood in Krishna's pastimes may contribute to that goal of being overcome by the strength of love. Actually, sandalwood has become somewhat of a rare item in modern times, with so much deforestation going on. Srila Prabhupada refers to this fact in a letter to one of my godbrothers, Nayana Birama, on August 22nd, 1971. Prabhupada wrote to him, Malayan sandalwood is famous as grown in Malaya, but nowadays in Malaya there are only rubber trees. But still in the market the sandalwood is known as Malayan sandalwood. But even in ancient times, sandalwood was a very highly prized commodity. Chanakya Pandit says, in Niti Shastra 2:9, he writes, Shale shale cha manikyam muktikam na gaje gaje sadavo na hi sarvatra chandanam na vane 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 vane. I like this verse, I use it a lot. There does not exist a ruby in every mountain, nor a pearl on the head of every elephant. Neither are sadhus to be found everywhere, nor sandalwood in every forest. I'll just repeat that because I love this verse. There does not exist a ruby in every mountain, nor a pearl on the head of every elephant. Neither are sadhus to be found everywhere, nor sandalwood in every forest. Now, an interesting fact is that sandalwood paste keeps one cool in the summer and warm in the winter. I think most devotees relate sandalwood to the cooling effect, but actually it also keeps you warm in the winter. It's almost mystical. According to Janaka Pandit, again, in his Katila Artha Shastra, sandalwood, again known as chandan in Sanskrit, comes in various colors. Rakta, red, Rakta Krishna, which means reddish black, Rakta Sveta, reddish white, Harita, meaning greenish, Rakta Pita, yellowish red, and Sveta, meaning whitish. And last night I was interested to read how Vaishnav poets often use analogies of sandalwood in reference to the cooling effect association with sadhus has while one is burning in the fire of material existence. Here's a nice one. The poet Paramananda, we often quote, he writes, Shri Bhalaba Nandana Sab Jaga Bandhana Shetal Chandana Tapa Harasa. That's Brajbasa. He writes, the son of Bhalaba, Jiva Goswami, is worshipped by everyone because he is the one who steals the fire burning in the material world and applies the coolant sandalwood paste of the forehead to give bliss. That's so beautiful. The son of Bhalaba, Jiva Goswami, is worshipped by everyone because he is the one who steals the fire burning in the material world and applies the coolant sandalwood paste on the forehead to give bliss by his numerous writings. Or, here's another one. Chandanam shitalam loke, chandam adapi chandrama, chandra chandana yor madhye, shitala sharusangita. On this planet, the intrinsic nature of sandalwood is that it's very cooling, amongst other refrigerants. More cooling than sandalwood is the moon, and even more cooling than sandalwood and the moon is the association of a sadhu. Wow. And of course, sandalwood plays, as we'll be discussing, an integral part of Krishna Lila. In the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 1:832, Kunti Devi poetically refers to this in an analogy. Again, an analogy, this time about Krishna's birth. She says, some say that the unborn has taken birth for the glorification of the great pious kings. And others say that you took birth to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appeared in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. Nice analogy. You appeared in his family as sandalwood, which is so much appreciated, appears in the Malayan hills. And in the 10th canto, chapter 90, verse 19, the gopis use a similar analogy, you could say a romantic appeal to Krishna. They say, quote, O Malayan breeze, what have we done to displease you, so that you stir up love in our hearts, which have already been shattered by Govinda's sidelong glances. Now in Gopal Champu, there's another nice sandalwood analogy used by the gopis in a letter to Krishna, who at that time was living in Mathura. They wrote a letter to Krishna who was living in Mathura. Gopal Champu says, one evening in Mathura, a scented message arrived from the gopis. A scented message arrived from the gopis. When Krishna read it, his resolve to stay in Mathura and to keep his promise to Maharaj Ugrasena crumbled like a sandcastle in the tide. O beloved, the letter read, separation from you has confused our lives. Now the forest has become our home, and our home's a forest. Sandalwood burns our bodies, so we think fire will cool our limbs. We would welcome death to end our pain, but your bold promise to return to Vrindavan has become an obstacle to such relief. What's more, every moment we are away from you feels like a millennium. This is real love. This is the love that we're trying to achieve by every activity we do in Krishna consciousness from day to day. This is the goal. We should never forget. Now, one way that sandalwood is part of Krishna's Leelas is that each day, early in the morning, under Mother Yasoda's supervision, I was reading, the cowherd boys decorate Krishna's face with sandalwood and other auspicious substances, beginning with his tilak. In Sri Rupa Chintamani, text 16, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the tilak on Krishna's face is only on his forehead. But some authorities say it extends to his nose, much like the tilak that we as Gaudiya Vaishnavas wear today. And in Govinda Lilamrita chapter 4, verse 17, it's described that to apply tilak on Krishna, his servants generally grind gorochana. Gorochana is a product produced from cows, together with sandalwood, and apply 2 vertical lines on Krishna's face. And then they fill the space in between with black aromatic musk. In between the tilak, they put musk there. And under Mother Yasoda's supervision, there's a servant boy named Makaranda, and he's the most expert in applying this tilak. Just like, there's devotees who apply tilak and there's devotees who apply tilak. I'm not so good at it, but many times I see devotees, it looks like, it's just perfect how they do it. So that perfection is actually there in that Makaranda, that devotee. He puts the tilak on Krishna. Still other boys also do this service, sometimes using a kunkuma instead of gorochana. Just a detail for you. Sometimes using kumkum instead of gorochana. Great details. Govinda Lilamrita chapter 3, verse 65 describes that the gopis, because they come into the service as well, the gopis like to paint Krishna's forehead crimson color with kumkuma. The boys do their seva, then some of the gopis come and they paint Krishna's forehead crimson color with kumkuma, which the Shastra says reveals his passionate nature and also points to his subservience to Sri Radha, whose feet are smeared with red lac. Now, whenever Krishna's tilak fades, due to exerting himself, in the forest, with the boys or in the Rasa Leela, his friends reapply it, meaning boyfriends or girlfriends, using natural pigments like Manashila from Govardhan Hill. Now you have to excuse me, I do a lot of research. I couldn't figure out what Manashila is. But they replace it with Manashila from Govardhan Hill, Giriraj Govardhan Ki. Now along with tilak, Krishna's forehead sports a dot of sandalwood paste in the center of his forehead, sandalwood pulp at the edges, curly locks of hair along its border, and designs drawn in minerals as well. Wow, Krishna's all attractive. Now the spot of sandalwood in between these 2 vertical lines of tilak are just above Krishna's eyebrows. And they serve, it's so sweet, as a mystical charm that hypnotizes the gopis, who become attracted to gazing at their lover's face. You see how important sandalwood is in the pastimes of Krishna. The spot of sandalwood in between the 2 vertical lines of tilak are just above Krishna's eyebrows, and it serves as a mystical charm that hypnotizes the gopis, who become attracted to gazing at their lover's face. Sandalwood paste. Now in his Mantartha Dipika, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes how when Gaudiya Vaishnava Brahmins chant the syllables of the Kama Gayatri mantra. We have 7 mantras as Brahmanas, and one is the Kama Gayatri mantra. Within that Kama Gayatri mantra there appears the name Kamadev. And he writes that the syllable Ka is equivalent to the full moon of Krishna's face. The syllable ma is his right cheek. The syllable de is his left cheek. The syllable va is that spot of sandalwood on his forehead. And the syllable ya is the half moon of his forehead itself. So next time the brahmanas, the devotees who are brahmanas, chant that line of Gayatri Mantra, you can remember that va is the spot of sandalwood on Krishna's forehead. Now moving on, Vidagdha Madhava 42b means 42b means the verse 42, but there's two parts, so it's part B. Our great hero, Rupa Goswami, he writes, once Vishakasaki warned Radha of three things that have the inconceivable power to attract people to Krishna: his flower garland, his name, and the mysterious sandalwood paste on his forehead. Once Vishakasaki warned Radha of three things that have the inconceivable power to attract people to Krishna: his flower garland, his name, and the mysterious sandalwood paste on his forehead. Hare Krishna. Now, in the book describing Krishna's pastimes with the cowherd boys, we've mentioned this book many times in our discourses. It's called Prayo Bhakti Rasanhava, Rasarnava. It's in chapter 9. It describes that after the cowherd boys decorate Krishna's face, we've gone through that now, the face is decorated and the girls that decorate, then the household servants, they come into the picture next. They dress Krishna in elegant royal robes. They tuck a jeweled dagger in the sash around his waist, and they smear sandalwood paste all over his limbs. And they put a scepter in his hand. Then they tie Krishna's hair in a top knot, and they bind it with the red and golden string, and crown it with a handsome peacock feather. That scripture goes very deep into Sakyaras. And finally, the boys, they place a delicate wreath woven out of tiny flowers on his head. But Krishna's morning pastimes are not over yet. The cowherd boys, they also apply perfumed oils on his transcendental form. But it's described, they're not so necessary, because Krishna's body naturally smells extremely beautiful. In fact, his bodily fragrance has been compared to the pleasing aroma of musk, sandalwood, aguru, saffron, and camphor ground and mixed together into what is called chatushama, that ground substance of all those auspicious things. When it's all together is called chatushama. And the aroma, I was reading, of chatushama is extremely attractive to the Brajagopis and can be best compared to the fragrance of lotuses mixed with camphor. Lotuses mixed with camphor. Now, in the purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anjali Leela 4, text 197, Srila Prabhupada cites the Garuda Purana to give the exact composition of this chatushama. There it's stated, Katsu Rikaya Dwa Bhago Chat Farash Chandan Ashutu Kun Kum Asya Tra Yash Chakai Shashina Shat Chatu Shamam. 2 parts of musk, 4 parts of sandalwood, 3 parts of uguru or saffron, and 1 part of camphor when mixed together form chatushama. Now this formula I also saw mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas 6.292. Now, during Krishna's pastimes 5,000 years ago, I was reading the perfume makers, those who made the perfume in Braj, would distill oils from various flowers, especially rose, jasmine, and henna, as well as wood like sandalwood and aguru wood. And they used other substances as well, like musk and kush and saffron and amber. And I was reading Mother Yasoda, she would purchase the best quality perfumes. That's called sugandha. The best of perfumes is called sugandha. She would purchase all these perfumes, sugandha, to use for Krishna's massage, to scent his bathwater, to perfume his hair, and to anoint him after he was dressed. So, and also she would regularly give these perfumes in valuable bottles to Sri Radha and her friends as presents. And I was reading at Krishna's birthday celebrations, perfumes were one of the gifts given to every visitor who came to Nandagram. So these perfumes, of course, they're different from modern day perfumes in which alcohol is the base for the distilled essential scent. Traditional scented oils in Braj were either undiluted or sandalwood oil was used at the base, but there was no alcohol. And that type of oil, that type of perfume that we're talking about, it remains on the body much longer, 15 to 20 times longer than scents mixed with alcohol. And whereas, of course, alcohol is impure and cannot be directly applied to the body of a deity, these pure oils that we're speaking about, there's no restriction. You can use any oil that's made in that natural way without alcohol. Now, we're still there in the morning pastimes. After Krishna's friends dressed and applied perfumed oils and sandalwood on him, they would go with him out to the pasturing fields with the cows. And the acharyas say that to keep him cool during hot summer days, they would apply sandalwood paste again to the two outer portions of his brow, which would make his forehead resemble, it's described, a mystical gemstone. It made his forehead resemble a mystical gemstone. Now in his Ice of Harya Kadambhini, 514, Srila Valadev Bijubhushana, another one of our heroes, he writes that, quote, at the end of the day, when Yashoda and Rohini would welcome Krishna and Balaram back from the pasturing grounds with their cows, as part of their affectionate greeting, they had sandalwood perfumed water sprinkled along the road coming into Braj. Talk about love. They had sandalwood perfumed water sprinkled on the road that Krishna and Balaram and all the cowherd boys and the cows would walk on as they came to Vrindavan. This is culture. This is our culture. We are hopefully one day to become Brajabasis. So therefore these lectures are important so we can know who we are, who is Krishna, what the spiritual world is like, and what we hope to achieve. So important. Now in Radharasa Sudhanidhi 2, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, he says that sandalwood also played an integral part of Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani's life. For Srimati Radharani's maidservants also daily massaged and anointed her with scented oils. For it is said that, this is a quote I found, a princess's bath is incomplete without them. A princess's bath is incomplete without them. Who needs any other literature than these literatures which we're studying? It's described these perfumes mesmerized her just as they did for Krishna. To surround herself with the scent of Krishna's body, Radharani sometimes smeared her own limbs with musk oil. Thus, even in her own home, she continued to think, Krishna is just beside me, because Krishna has that musk scent as well. So she put it on, and that would cause her a stimulation for love. Krishna is just beside me. And it's described that because she dried her hair with the smoke of burning a guru, it's said that the aroma of her hair fortified that feeling of Krishna's presence. Quite deep. The aroma of her hair fortified that feeling of Krishna's presence. So in this way, Radha was always how could you say, intoxicated with the love her perfumes gave her. Now we mentioned the scent of Krishna's body, but the scent of Radha's body is also given in Radharasa Sudhanidhi. It's also there. Seek and ye shall find. There it says that the natural fragrance of Sri Radha's body is like a flower garden sprinkled with camphor dust. Just in your mind's eye, try to picture this or smell it. The fragrance of Radha's body is like a flower garden sprinkled with camphor dust. And when she smears scented oil, such as rose oil, on her limbs, she seems to Krishna to be like a walking bouquet of roses. Krishna thinks like that when he meets her. She's like a walking bouquet of roses. Here in this world, people put on perfumes to attract people to them. But in the spiritual world, the gopas and the gopis and Mother Yasoda, they perfume Krishna's body to become more attracted to him. This is the proper use of perfumes. Everything in Krishna's service. So Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says, when the aromatic breeze from the edge of Radha's garment touches Krishna, he whom liberated yogis fail to attain thinks his life is now a success. And in Govinda Lilamritam 21:24 it says, Chandana lipta kaya. Chandana lipta kaya, I found that. Radha uses white chandan to cover her body during nights of the full moon. This reduces visibility, and thus her family members can't see her when she goes to meet Krishna in the forest. Because it's all bright out. So she has to go through the forest. So that she may not be noticed, she uses that white sandalwood. We discussed different colors, so she uses the white sandalwood. So no one can see her. So nectarine. And when Radha and Krishna do meet, their secret meeting in the forest, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Gitavali, Ananga Manjari Chua Chandana Dhoye. Ananga Manjari Chuya Chandana Dhoye. Ananga Manjari applies sandalwood paste on the divine couple. So she gets it twice. She covers herself to go to meet Krishna, and then Ananga Manjari, she's there. And one of her services, Ananga Manjari Chuya Chandana Dhoye, she applies sandalwood paste on the divine couple. So much nectar. Now sandalwood also played an important role in the pastime of the deliverance of the Kaliya serpent. I was reading in Sarata Dharshini 10:16 verses 65 to 67, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that after Kaliya was chastised by the Lord, Kaliya said to him, Krishna, although I am the most sinful, you gave me the most mercy. You have not put your foot on others' heads and marked them with your disc and conch. So with great respect, along with my wives, we will offer you cooling sandalwood pulp from my hand, because your body was burned by the poison from my fangs. But Krishna replied, but applying these ointments will take time. So Kaliya said, yes. When you're a devotee, you want to spend as much time as you can with Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. So Kaliya said, yes, then please sit, my lord. And after making Krishna sit down, Kaliya and his wives, they applied sandalwood pulp all over the Lord's body to cool him down from the poison, the hot poison that came from Kaliya. And it said that Vishwanath says that fulfilled their heart's desire, and that they had attained the mercy of the Lord. So then they left the Jamuna, as instructed earlier by Krishna. Hare Krishna. So a lot of nectar about sandalwood, and we have more. We have more, but I think we'll finish today with the verse from Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada's Padyavali. This is actually verse 41. He's quoting another saint, Sri Kavi Ratna. It's a short verse, but it's very pertinent to our discussion today. Shri Kaviratna says, one who daily sings the glories of Yashoda's son, glories as cooling as sandalwood and camphor, is never troubled by Kali Yuga. Rather, at every step, he finds a torrential flood of the sweetest nectar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Shri Prajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Shivadashram Ki, Krishna Balaram Ki. So we'll be back. We'll be back in 1 week with more about sandalwood in Krishna's pastimes as a stimulus for developing ecstatic love. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar Ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Back home, back to Godhead Ki. Take all the fallen conditioned souls with us. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Sharm. May Srila Prabhupada be glorified.